Okay, hi everybody. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I was mundanely balancing my bank statement, and so I'm late because of that. I know that's boring, but that's why I'm late. Okay, so here we are. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about e-seeing because there were some questions that I got yesterday that I didn't really have a chance to do a good follow-up for those. So today that's what we're going to do is kind of talk a little bit more maybe about positions and things like that with your baby. So before we jump into that, I'm Kristen and my website is naturalbirthandbabycare.com. Right now is a really exciting time for me because actually next week on Thanksgiving, November 26th, my website will turn 10 years old. I've been doing this for 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think that I've been running a website for that long. And when I started it, I don't know that I ever considered that it would go this far, and I certainly never imagined what all would go into the website. So I'm doing this Periscope 4 times a week. Who could have dreamed that? I'm definitely older than 10, but thank you. Who could have dreamed that something like Periscope would even be here for us to use? So I had no idea about that. I couldn't have imagined the podcast. I'm a pretty shy person, and I never could have imagined that I would be teaching every week, teaching multiple classes every week, and doing a podcast every week or two, doing Periscope scopes 4 times a week. It's just nuts. But it's really been an honor for me to be able to help moms and babies, and that's really why I do it. And it's been a crazy trip, but an interesting trip. I have 7 children. Okay, so again, naturalbirthandbabycare.com. As part of the anniversary celebration, we've got 40% off sale going on in the shop, so you can head over to the shop and check that out. It's naturalbirthandbabycare.com/shop. That's naturalbirthandbabycare.com/shop, or you can just head right over to the website and there's a little banner that'll drop down. So 40% off everything off of Fearless Birth. One of the things that I'm highlighting today. Oh, I love you guys for letting me walk with you just a little bit on your mothering journeys. I take care of my family, which is probably more of a full-time job than running the website. But, I run the website and I take care of my family, so that's what I do. We homeschool our kids. That's probably what's really my full-time job. So, yeah, anyways, and if you want to find out, I'm highlighting different things every day. So today I highlighted the Smart Mama's Guide to Preventing Tearing During Birth, which is also 40% off. If you want to find out what I'm highlighting every day, you can head over to trustbirth101.com. That's trustbirth101. Sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to highlight something every day for the next 8 days now. We're 2 days into it, but check that out. For right now, though, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about e-seeing. So yesterday I shared why would you want to consider e-seeing with your baby, and I thought that I would be a little bit more practical today. I'm not going to use a real baby. I'm going to use Jacob, who is this is my trusty little baby doll here that I use. He's been with me for a long time. He's older than any of my kids. Anyways, this is my Jacob. Anyways, we're going to talk about e-seeing. So e-seeing, for those of you who don't know, who missed the scope yesterday, it's going to be up on the website soon if you want to watch it. But e-seeing is short for Elimination Communication, and basically that's understanding that our babies innately don't want to soil themselves. Many of you probably, some of you are probably skeptical, but many of you probably understand this because especially when you had a newborn, you know that he or she hated to be wet or dirty. And that's because our babies instinctively don't want to be wet or dirty. They're not like livestock. They're not like goats. We have goats and they don't care where they go. But when you think more about your cat or dog, once they're potty trained, crate trained, or litter trained, they don't want to go anywhere but where they're supposed to go. They don't want to soil their nest. And you know that even puppies and kittens kind of have that. They have that instinct. At first, mom cleans up after them, but really quickly they learn not to soil the nest. And human babies are like that too. My kids are actually into 4-H, and it was really interesting. One of the things that we talked about when we went to some workshops for them for 4-H was how humans have characteristics that are far more like cats and dogs than are like livestock animals. So herbivores, for instance, our eyes, that's why I pointed to Jacob's eyes. You know, our eyes are on the front of our faces. Basically, we're predators. We're meant to, 4-H is something in the United States. It's kind of like an agricultural club. It's really more than that. But the kids learn how to take care of animals, livestock, or they can do dog trials. They learn traditional home economics type crafts, different crafts and handiwork and that sort of thing. It's kind of just like a community organization for kids, kind of like scouting, only more focused on agricultural skills. And I think it is only in the United States. So for those of you outside the United States, you might, sorry, but it's basically like a community thing for kids, like a community club for kids. And they do projects with real animals. So we have a lot of animals here at various times in the year and learn a lot about animals. And that's one of the things that we learned, is that people are one of the predator species, and predator species do not want to soil their nests because generally they have a nest, unlike, like goats and other critters like that, which tend to kind of range around and they don't care where they go. So people babies do care where they go. And so elimination communication, like I shared yesterday, isn't really meant to be, I don't want it to intimidate you or stress you out or overwhelm you. If it's stressful or overwhelming for you, certainly use diapers because I think that it's better not to be stressed out. But I also think that a lot of elimination communication becomes fairly easy. We talked a lot about timing yesterday. So when your baby has been sleeping and then he or she wakes up, just like when you wake up from a nap or from your nighttime sleep, you probably need to go to the bathroom, and the same is true for a baby. And so you can actually catch that. And then much of the time we can tell when somebody needs to go number 2, because especially like with a baby, you'll see grunting and stuff, and you'll hear people say, oh, he's filling his diaper. And it's like, don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. So that's what we're talking about. So one of the basics with ECing, we talked kind of about how to do timing and how to know when to take the baby to EC yesterday. So today I want to talk a little bit more about practical stuff, like how do I EC my baby? And that's why Jacob is here. Okay, so my favorite EC position is kind of what's called like the cradling position, and it's pretty much universal. If you look at elimination communication, it's done in all kinds of cultures, and a good book to look at for that it's actually a hardback book. I don't think you can get it on ebook, but it's Laurie Buck's book, Infant Potty Training is what it's called. But she does kind of like an ethnographical survey all over the world, and one of the positions that you'll see in many different cultures, because not all cultures had Pampers people, was this cradling position. And basically you hold the baby like this, so you're supporting their thighs. And actually, this is really easy to do with a newborn and not so much of a bigger baby. Sadie, my real baby, not Jacob, my fake baby. Sadie, my real baby, is 9 months old, and I actually usually hold her like this now because she's 20 pounds and she's a lot bigger than Jacob. And so I hold her on my wrists just because I can hold her more securely that way. But I still like this cradling hold. And what the cradling hold lets you do is it gets obviously everything out of the way. Obviously, wouldn't have anything on the baby's bottom. But it gets everything out of the way so that baby can just go. And somebody asked yesterday, did I think that girls were easier to aim, so to speak, than boys? And I actually don't think that's true, because with a boy, you can put your finger down and aim him downward. With a girl, they just kind of spurt, and you kind of have to move them around to make sure that they're not going to go somewhere where you don't want them to go. But this cradling hold position is really nice. Another thing that it does is it moves your child into that natural squatting position. Now, in the modern world, we have toilets, but in the developing world, or where there's no toilets, humans traditionally squatted to go to the bathroom. And that position actually helps us go to the bathroom, which is why there's things like the squatty potty, which is a little stool that's meant to go around a toilet for even grown-ups, not just little kids, to basically bring your body more into this squatting position, because it straightens out the colon and it helps you to go. So when you hold the baby in the cradling position, this position in and of itself kind of stimulates things, and often the baby will go. If I hold Sadie in this position, even if she doesn't need to go, like I can see her stomach move in like she's trying to go. It's just she instinctively or naturally she tries to go even if she doesn't need to, because the position, and I think some of it's association, they come to associate the position, but I do think that some of it's instinctual. Now this position also works really well if you're outdoors, like if you were camping or something, and this is what African moms do a lot. Like if you look at pictures of African moms, is they'll put the baby like this, but between their feet. So their feet will like be right here, kind of together, and it's actually like this. So the baby will be back. And if these, I can't stick my feet up in the camera, and you probably don't want to see my feet anyways. But these would be feet, and then the baby's like this, facing mama, like this, in between her feet, so that the feet are forming like a backrest for the baby. This position is really good for newborns because you can keep the baby cuddled right up close to you. And it also, this is the position I still use the most with Sadie. And with Sadie, we usually go to the bathroom sink now. Or I hold her over the toilet if I know that she needs to poop. I actually hold her like this over the toilet with both the lid and the seat up. Put both up and hold her over the toilet. And actually I was originally doing it with the seat down because I'm a girl, so I don't think about the seat up. And Scott came in one time and put the seat up because he's a guy, and so he thinks about that sort of thing, and it makes it really nice. But that way there's nothing for me to clean up. And I really like that because it all goes right into the toilet. But if it's just a pee, I usually do the sink and I spray the sink down. It was actually on a forum with one of my first DC babies that one of the ladies was like, "Ew, you hold your baby over your sink? That's disgusting." And I told her, I was trying to defend myself from this forum troll, and I told her, well, I always wipe it up afterwards. And another mom on there came in all high and mighty. She's like, "I bet that you take care of raw chicken over your sink, and that's way more disgusting than anything that a breastfed baby will post." And I got a kick out of that and appreciated that. But you don't have to use a sink. You can use the toilet like I do. Sadie can sit on one of those little potty seat reducers that are made for bigger kids, and actually you can put your baby on that really soon, as soon as they've got like a little bit of back control. I've got pictures from people who have sent them to me on naturalbirthandbabycare.com of their little babies, and we've got one that actually, Corwin, who is our almost 3-year-old, he uses it a lot, but I can put Sadie on that. And even sometimes if I think she needs to go and she's not going when I'm holding her over the sink like this, if I put her then on the potty seat reducer and I sit close to her because she's a little bit wobbly and I don't want her to topple off because she's always looking around like, "Oh, what is this? This is so cool," so I don't want her to fall off, so I'm right there with her. But she'll often go, she knows. And then at my mother-in-law's house, my mother-in-law has one of those little potty seat reducers, and I always put her on that at my mother-in-law's house because I don't feel comfortable letting her pee in somebody else's sink. Okay. But then another thing that you can do is use a little potty or a little bowl. And because Sadie's 9 months old, all of our little potty bowls I think are packed up in the attic with all the little baby things because I only use it when they're little. So we only have the potty seat down. But this is a baby Bjorn potty seat. It's called the Little Potty. I don't know that you can actually get this particular model anymore, but they have a similar model that you can get. I think it's got a little pop-out cup, which is really nice for cleanup, and it's similar to this. But this one's nice because it's a little smaller than the standard potty seat, and it also encourages that squat. So let me see if I can get Jacob on it. So you can see Jacob, and he's a little bit small to do the squat, but you can see how he's sitting on there, and if he were taller, like a real older baby, then his legs would be down over the side, and he would be in that nice squat position. And so if you have a potty seat like this, or a bowl, let me see if I can.